Now, if you look at the title of this sutta, SD61.4, this is from our new series, the 61, 60, 61, 62 are very interesting. Lots of new ideas from 50 years with Buddhism. I'm so happy to be able to do this 60 series. So this Sakalika Sutta, you notice without the brackets, in other words, there is another one, another Sakalika Sutta. Now this Sakalika Sutta is number S1.38. The other Sakalika Sutta is S4.13. So here is bracketed Devata Sakalika Sutta, the Deities, Discourse on the Stone Splinter. Now, this word Deities here tells us that it's about the Devas who come to see the Buddha. And Sakalika means stone splinter. What about the stone splinter? Well, it's a piece of sharp rock that flew off this huge big rock, pushed down by Devadatta in his attempt to kill the Buddha, to take over the Sangha. You can see in the picture in our the starting of this files. So, of course, he failed, and he was, of course, very disappointed. And there's a short sutta talking about how the Buddha was hurt. The sharp splinter flew, and I mean, this rock fell from the top of a vulture pig and then got lodged between two rocks, and the piece flew off and cut the Buddha's toe. It was a very painful cut, and it was bleeding, and he had to be nursed, tended. So physically he was in pain, but he was resting, and he's feeling very peaceful. That the Mara Sakalika Sutta, S4.13, describes how Devadatta comes along, Mara comes along, and actually mocks the Buddha and say, look, what are you sitting down here and lying down and relaxing? Isn't that being lazy? And so on and so forth. So he was ridiculing the Buddha and so on. So that is the S4.13. Now this one is a happy one. This is the other side of the story, if you like. So it's the same event. The Buddha is lying down, recovering from this wound from this stone. And here, of course, the sutta theme says that the Buddha easily withstands physical pain because of his deep meditation. Now, what's interesting is we have this group of devas, 700 of them. They come along to see the Buddha, and they're very happy to see the Buddha, partly also to, in a sense, to console the Buddha. It's like a dear friend, we know our teacher is sick, we visit him. And now there's another reason why these devas came to see the Buddha. This is a story by itself, but it's given in a commentary, which has been put in your notes in section 1.2.3, 123, okay? Now, their name is called Satullapa kāyikā. Satullapa kāyikā. There should be an apostrophe, S-A-T apostrophe, if we want to be more exact. Okay, kāya means host. Kāyikā means belonging to that host. Belonging to the host of the 700 who shouted. Ulapeti, to shout, okay? Sata Ulapa, the 100 who shouted. What a strange name, you might say. No, indeed, it's a very strange name, but it's also what brought them to be reborn as devas. They are devas in Tavatimsa, in Sakras Deva. Okay, so the story goes like this. Long ago, of course, in the Buddha's time, this group of sailors, it was quite a big ship, I think. It was like 700 of them. They were sailing probably to Southeast Asia, otherwise possibly towards South Africa, we're not told. and there was this really big storm. And everyone was so worried because the water is coming in, the ship is sure to sink. So, but one of them just sits quietly meditating, not fearing anything. So these people, in their panic, they were wondering, why is this person not panicking? Why is sitting down quietly like that without any fear? So they asked him, what's going on here? What are you thinking? What are you doing? He says, well, we're all going to die, so I'm meditating. I'm recalling all the good deeds I've done before I came on this ship, and I'm keeping the 5 precepts. And these other people, panicking people, pleaded with him, said, please, have compassion on us, help us, tell us what to do. So this calm meditator in the ships told them, okay. So he had to shout to them because, there's this big storm. You can imagine, like the tempest, this big storm going on, and the ship is rocking and swaying, and water is coming in, lightning and thunder in the sky, and so on. So he had to shout at the top of his voice, keep the 5 precepts, okay? Now, be calm, just sit down, and keep the 5 precepts, and recite after me the 5 precepts, and so on. So they went on like that. So everyone was calm and listened, and then the ship sank. So they all died, the 700 of them. What another thing this person did was to divide the 700 into groups of 100. So there were 7 groups, and then they kind of recited the precepts, and then they died. And they were reborn in Devata because their last thought was a happy thought, keeping the precepts, recalling their good deeds. So the moment they were reborn there, they recall their past karma. Devas can do that. So they're very happy. And then they came down to see the Buddha, to thank the Buddha. The commentary, I'm not sure, because there's no exact saying that was the moment, first time they went to see the Buddha, they were reborn. It's hard to say whether it happened at that time or not. We don't really know. So anyway, the important thing is they did come down to see the Buddha, and they were praising the Buddha, said, although, Lord, you are in pain, you are bearing it. And they use various metaphors, various similes, praising the Buddha. And this is what we're going to look at. Okay? So that's why it's called the Devata Sakalika Sutta. Devata, of course, are the gods, and Sakalika refers to the Buddha getting hurt with a piece of carved rock. Okay, let's turn to the sutta now. Let's go down a bit more. Page 104, I think. A bit more, yes. Somehow, a bit more, 104. Devata Sakalika Sutta. Or maybe the paging might have changed a little bit, I think. Okay, right, we're past it. Yeah, there we are. Oh, it is 104, yeah. All right, Devata Sakalika Sutta, the Devata Discourse on the stone splinter. This is from the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 1, Sutta 38. Thus have I heard at one time the Blessed One was staying in the Madda kucchi deer park at Rajagaha. So this is outside Rajagaha in a deer park. Now on that occasion, the Blessed One's foot had been cut by a stone splinter. Okay, there's a note there. You can look at the note and then you follow up with the origin story, how the Buddha's foot or toe was hurt. Severe pains assailed the Blessed One, bodily pains that were painful, racking, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable. Okay, this is typical oral tradition. We have a register, a list of synonyms. In a sense, you might say this is the beginning of the thesaurus. All these words means painful, right? You can see the word painful, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable. So this is the Buddha's body, feeling the pain. But the Blessed One endured them, mindful, clearly aware, without becoming distressed. So the Buddha's mind is not troubled. by this pain. So here alone in this verse 2 or paragraph 2, we have the teaching of the two pains. You have bodily pain and mental pain. The unwise, unawakened suffer twice. When their body is in pain, their mind also is in pain, and they get very angry and upset, and that hurts them also. But in the case of the Buddha, is very calm and peaceful. Mind doesn't feel the pain. There you are in the second verse. And then third verse describes the Buddha, what the Buddha did. Then the Blessed One, having folded his outer robe fourfold, and it be just enough for him to lie on, lay down, mindful and clearly aware, on his right side in the lion posture, with one leg resting on the other. Then when the night was far advanced, okay, the night was far advanced, traditionally said to be between 10 to 2 a.m. So probably quite a bit towards the later time, maybe between 1 to. It's very peaceful. The people are resting, the lay people are resting, the monks are meditating, the Buddha's all alone. So you could imagine this night, beautiful nighttime with stars in the sky. The Buddha is in the open with trees around. And it's a deer park, you remember. So probably some deer sleeping nearby. So what happened? Verse 4. Then when the night was far advanced, 700 devatas belonging to Satullapa host of exceedingly great beauty, illuminating the entire Madda kucchi deer park, approached the Blessed One. So these devas, they are of the sense world. Because of the good karma, they're able to radiate this great light. So when they come down on earth in the night, they will brighten up wherever they are. In this case, the deer park. So, and they're very beautiful, of course, and they approached the Blessed One. Having approached, they saluted the Blessed One and stood at one side. That is quite a lot of them, 700. So the leaders are in front. So I suppose there's 7 leaders, right? If you notice in the sutta, there are 7 comments or kind of 7 descriptions of the Buddha, one from each of the leader. All right, so after this, we have each of the Devata leaders speaking, section 5 onwards, okay? So you can see the round brackets 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, up to 7. Section 5. Then one Devata, standing on one side, uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. The ascetic, or if you like, the recluse Gautama is indeed a naga, says. So here this leader is also addressing his own followers, the 99 other devas. The Buddha is indeed a naga. So you see here, the Pali word naga, okay, long R, naga, is the anglicized word naga, okay? So when bodily pains have a reason that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable, through his naga-like manner he endures them, mindful and clearly aware, without becoming distressed. So here, this Deva says the Buddha is indeed a naga. Now, of course, if you translate into popular local lingo, naga can be dragon, especially in the Chinese culture, East Asian culture, dragon. The Indian naga is more of like a serpent being who inhabits deep underground or deep underwater. And if you remember, a few weeks after Buddha passed away, it is in Thailand, it's said to be on a Wednesday. This serpent, this dragon, comes out and spreads its food. Okay, and apparently it manifested itself as 7-headed, and it wraps around this Buddha, and the big hood covers the Buddha so that he's not wet by the storm that was raging for 7 days. So this is one meaning of naga, this great serpent. Another meaning of naga is the bull elephant, right? So very likely the meaning here is this bull elephant who is very noble, the leader of the herd. All right. So the Buddha is like this bull elephant, very noble, and it doesn't fear pain. So when elephants go to these really great elephants, they go to war. The kings will choose this elephant very carefully, and they're not afraid, even though the weapons, these enemies will pierce the elephant with their spear and so on, arrows. Even the elephant will just go on advancing as ordered by the king. Right. So this is the naga, this idea of strength, nobility. Now there's another interesting explanation of naga, etymology. Okay, naga, na plus ga. Okay, na means no, and ga comes from gacchati. Here, agung na gacchati. So here, agung means something bad. He does not do anything bad. So gacchati has this idiomatic meaning in Pali of doing and so on, being, doing. So one who does no evil is a naga. So you can see it's a very rich kind of term explaining the Buddha who is noble, who doesn't let this physical pain trouble him in any way because his mind is at peace. So these devas are very happy because these devas, they know what suffering is, because they had all died in this sinking ship. So they're really happy to see the Buddha in this very noble kind of situation, right? So this is a kind of reflection on the Buddha that we should not fear pain, but learn from it, overcome it by our mind, live the pain on the body level. So this is the reflection or the praise of the first Devata. That is probably the leader who taught all the rest to recite the precepts in the sinking ship. That's just my conjecture, okay? All right, so that's the first Devata leader's praise of the Buddha. Now then, the next one, section 6, we have the second leader. Then another Devata uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. This ascetic Gautama is indeed a lion, sir. Or rather should be sirs, no? And now you notice these little things get past the proofreader. So we really need proofreaders, Proofreaders are quality controllers. So these are little things which are human errors which can be corrected, right? So we know here, of course, we will see the word sirs, here should be sirs also, right? Now, Buddhism is not word-based, so this is very interesting. So when we see this word and then we see the previous word, we know, okay, it should be sirs here. We're not going to say, oh, this sutta is invalid because you got a spelling error. We're not based on the word in this sense. Our teaching is based on the meaning. So we are not troubled by human errors. We want to get rid of human errors by looking deep into the meaning. Now here it reminds me of another interesting historical story. This is a real story of the Christian Bible, which was printed in 1631, the 1631 version of the King James Bible. For some reason, the printer or the proofreader missed out one of the 10 commandments. One of the not is missing. Thou shalt commit adultery. And that's really, shock a lot of people. So it's called the Sinner's Bible. And you can imagine how troubled people can be when the holy book like that has a misprint, okay? So proofreaders are very important, just to raise the point, right? Okay, here we are. So coming back to this sentence, we have this Deva. Second Deva is very happy. So he says, oh, the ascetic Gautama is indeed a lion. Now notice he says he is indeed a lion. Now this is a metaphor. Metaphor means is something, whereas a simile, we would say is like a lion, right? So that's the difference. In fact, in my latest volume 62 study of another sutta, I've written a long chapter on metaphors and similes. Some of it is posted on Facebook. Okay, so let's see the next part. Well, the next part is very similar. The chapter below, yes. And when bodily feelings have arisen that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable, through his lion-like manner, he endures them, mindful and clearly comprehending without becoming distressed. So here again, we see the words are italicized. It means it's repeating the first in the series. So here, this leader of this second 100, Satullapa Devas, is praising the Buddha. Says he's like a lion. He's brave, noble. Despite the pain of the body, his mind is not troubled. So here, the lion is a very famous metaphor in early Buddhism. The Buddha is often said to be lion-like or to be a lion. Okay, so in fact, we have two the metaphors in the first part, and then the second part is a simile. Here we see the word lion-like manner. All right, so you have two kind of applications of imageries here or figures. How is the Buddha like a lion? Now he's sometimes called Narasiha. Now Narasiha, the man lion, is another metaphor. Or you can interpret it as a simile also. The man is like a lion. Why is the lion so special? The Sutta says, well, the lion is the king of the jungle. When he roars, all the animals cover. They are afraid. They will hide and so on, right? You got to go to the zoo. Now, I have heard this lion roaring. They have really strong, large lungs, and there's a resonance to their roaring. No human can imitate. It really resonates through the zoo. You got to go to the zoo, and if you're lucky, you'll hear a lion roar. Okay, I remember long ago when I was much younger, I heard this lion roar. It's amazing. The sound. Then at once I said, wow, that's the lion roar, like the Dharma. The Dharma has been said to be the lion's roar, because when bad people hear the Dharma, they are terrified. They are afraid. Of course, we have nasty hunters who think differently. They love the sound. Say, oh, that's a lion, I'm going to kill it. So you have that kind of people also. So there are those, when they hear the Dharma, they will, kind of laugh at it and so on. So you have two kinds of people. But here, we're talking about the good aspect of the lion, this of courage and nobility and truth. And that is the teaching is heard by others with this wonderful response, with this even respect, or to some extent, those with unwholesome thoughts and so on, with fear. Say, oh dear, what have I done? I better correct myself. So this lion roar puts things in order in our lives, or give us this second chance to look, we can change for the better. So the Buddha is like a lion. That's one way of putting it. Then Deva leader 3, this is in section 7. Then another Devata appeared, uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. The ascetic Gautama is indeed a thoroughbred, Ajaniya, says. And when bodily feelings have arisen that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable, through his thoroughbred manner, he endures them, mindful and clearly comprehending, without becoming distressed. Now, a thoroughbred is a super horse that is well, what should we say, pedigreed horse. These horse parents are really good horses, very great. Normally in India, they're called Sind horses from this area of Sind in India, in north of Bombay, that area. So they're called Ajaniya. So this is the noble horse. Of course, the kings would love this kind of horses. All right, the thoroughbred, and this horse is what we right in front, leading the army. The king will be on it. This horse is very noble in movement and very brave. So the Buddha keeps his precepts, so that his gestures are noble, and his mind also noble, like this really beautiful horse. And it is beautiful to look at, inspiring to look at. And he's a great leader of the Sangha and so on. So this is a reflection. It's a kind of Buddha Nusati, reflection on the Buddha's quality, and joy arises as we reflect on this, as the Devas reflect on this. So this is the third leader's praise. Now we come to the fourth Satullapa leader's praise. That is section 8. Then another Devata uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. The ascetic Gautama is indeed the chief bull, Nisaba. Sirs. Okay, here this one, the word's correct, sirs, right? Now notice here that we don't have a single English word for bull in this case, Nisaba, but you have this in Pali, the head bull, leading bull. So this bull leads the other herd to safety, to a good place where there's good grass, and this bull, the other cattle will listen to him, respect him, and so on. So he's like the head of the Sangha. The Sangha listens to him and his teachings and so on. So you have this really noble leader, okay? Now, to the ancient Indians, bulls and buffaloes and cattle are not just ordinary animals. They're not just milk producers. They produce a lot of wonderful things like ghee and cheese and so on. You know, the 5 things, in fact, they call the 5 product of a cow, and therefore cows or cattle are regarded as wealth. So if you have a lot of cattle, you're a very rich man, like Daniya, if you remember, in the Daniya Sutta and Sutta Nipata. So you have this imagery of wealth also, wealth in the spiritual sense. So we have this leader, and you have this wealth of the Dharma, of wisdom and freedom, embodied in the idea of the chief bull. Then we come to number 5, the leader, 5th leader, which is in verse number 9. Then another Devata uttered this inspired utterance. So inspired utterance, of course, is an udana, okay? But we normally don't, we only use udana for the Buddha, but here, of course, the joy is there, spoken by the Deva, before the Blessed One. The ascetic Gautama is indeed a draught bull, Doraya says. Okay. Here again, we need to correct this to plural. And when the bodily feelings have arisen that are painful, racking, sharp, piercing, harrowing, disagreeable, through his manner of a draught bull, he endures them, mindful, clearly comprehending, without becoming distressed. Now, this is very strange, you might say. Well, why does this Deva leader uses this idea of this strong bull that pulls a cart and heavy loads? Again, remember, in ancient India, bulls are noble creatures. They're not worshipped like in later Hinduism, but the idea began there, if you like. This bull is able to pull heavy loads. And the Buddha went through that 6 years of self-mortification, if you remembered, and he survived. So he was strong because of that. He's not afraid of having to have this big burden of suffering and pain in order to awaken, right? So in that sense, he has the good qualities of a draught bull. Right? All right, then number 6. This is the 10th verse, the 6th Deva leader is reported in this way. Then another Devata uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. The ascetic Gautama is indeed tamed, Danta says. All right, here we have tame. Another adjective besides Danta is Dhamma, right? Purisa Dhamma. But Dhamma means to be tamed. Purisa Dhamma, persons to be tamed. But here, Danta means tamed. But be very careful here. Here we have what is called a polysemous word, a word with more than one meaning. Danta by itself also means teeth, but they're unrelated except by spelling here. So if you look in the Pali dictionary, you see they put Danta 1, Danta 2. They might put a 1 in the front or a 1 at the back just to signify that you have different words. I mean, same spelling, but the senses are very different. They come from different roots. Okay, so here, this Deva leader number 6 say, "Oh, the Lord is tamed. He doesn't feel this pain. The pain is there, but he's not troubled by it. He's tamed, right?" So, well, this is the whole idea of the Buddha's teaching, to tame ourselves, right? So, through moral conduct, firstly, taming the body, that is to not to harm others, to respect the life of others, because we all treasure our lives and we do not like to suffer, right? So that first precept also has to do with suffering. And a tame person also will not steal, will not commit adultery, will not lie, will not get drunk. So we are tamed by the precepts, and the precepts make us noble and prepare our minds for concentration, for freedom and wisdom. Okay, so this is the idea of being tamed. So the Buddha is tamed Danta. He trains those who are ready to be tamed, Purisa Dhamma. Now let's do one more, and then we will take a break because it's just nice. We have this first part. So the seventh leader in verse 11 says, rather is reported in this way: "Then another Devata uttered this inspired utterance before the Blessed One. See the samadhi well cultivated and the mind well freed, neither leaning forward nor bending backward, neither curbed nor checked by suppressing with effort. If anyone would think such a one could be violated, such a naga of man, such a lion of man, such a thoroughbred of man, such a leading bull of a man, and such a draught bull of a man, such a tame man, what is that but clearly a lack of vision?" Right? So it kind of summarizes everything. Okay. So this last person could well be the leader, So it's hard to say, right? He kind of summarizes everything. And he describes very deeply the nature of the Buddha. The others, they use metaphors, but here this Deva describes the nature of the Buddha. He is resting there, deep in the joy of concentration samadhi, because his mind is freed from defilements, neither leaning forward nor bending backward. Leaning forward means he's not drawn towards pleasurable things, moving forward, like being attracted to pleasurable things. No bending backwards. No, he rejects, he pushes away things he doesn't like, which are not pleasurable, right? Neither curbed nor checked by suppressing with effort. And when any negative object arises before him or even in his mind, he doesn't have any trouble at all stopping, removing all these negative states. They just move away quite easily, like water dropping on the lotus leaf and running off because of the nature of his mind. Right? It's just like when we are at peace, we know true nature of things, no matter what bad things people may say to us, we are calm and peaceful, like a lotus leaf letting the water run off, right? So all these qualities put together is because of the Buddha has this wonderful mind. Okay, so we will take a short break here, about 5 minutes. Okay, let's look at the closing verses. There are 4 closing verses. It's hard to know who is the speaker of these verses. It could well be the Buddha, of course. Or it could be the sutta narrators, so we're not told. But certainly, his Dharma is kind of summarizing what the Devas have presented. Okay. Some of the lines seem a little extraneous, a bit unrelated. For example, look at verse 12, S1 to 5. Brahmins learned in the 5 Vedas practice austerities for 100 years, but their minds are not rightly freed. Because of their low nature, they reach not the far shore. So this is a comment on the other practitioners who follow rituals. They can spend their whole life practicing, or they even follow the holy books. Here, the 5 Vedas are mentioned. Now, this is really odd, but this is the only place where you have this mention of the 5 Vedas. Because in the suttas, you only hear of the 3 Vedas, the Rig Veda, Sama Veda, and Yaju Veda. The 4th Veda, Atava Vedas, they're all full of magic and superstition. The Atava Vedas, so rituals, mainly for rituals. So this, I think, according to scholars, this 4th Veda did exist in the Buddhist time, but it's not mentioned because of the rituals. They're not regarded as a respectable document. The 5th is called Itihasa, something like the history of the sages and heroes. So although they follow these 5 scriptures, they still are not able to have a peaceful mind. Even to this day, you know, that they want to use Hinduism, and they're very violent, very politically motivated. They want to control all the other religions, for example, right? So that's called low nature. Okay, so they won't be able to find peace. Then the next verse, S1 to 6, that's verse 13. Bound to vows and rituals, they are caught in craving, practicing crude austerity for 100 years, and their minds are not rightly freed because of their low nature that they reach not the far shore. Even today, educated, well-informed people, you know, they see the so-called sadhus, these yogis, holy men, pretending to float in the air, but they're actually using some contraptions. It's a very famous, very notorious thing. They pretend to be floating in the air. And of course, they're asking for donations. So, and some actually seriously practice, you know, they do some kind of really painful austerity. And they're supposed to be holy because of that. Of course, the Buddha speaks against such things. It doesn't bring them any awakening. Then verse 14, that is S1 to 7. There's no taming here for one who loves conceit. Conceit is a kind of arrogance, measuring self with others for no good reason. Nor is there sagehood. Sagehood means awakening, self-awakening for the unconcentrated. Without a peaceful mind, you cannot know awakening and freedom. Heedlessly dwelling alone in the forest, and one cannot cross beyond death's realm. And just because one lives in the forest, or it's a forest monk or forest nun for that matter, it doesn't mean that your mind is at peace. You can still be very worldly. And then the last one, verse 15, S1 to 8. Having abandoned conceit, well concentrated, for the noble mind is everywhere freed. Dwelling alone in the forest, diligent, one crosses beyond death realm. Right? So only when the mind is totally freed that one crosses into nirvana. So mental cultivation is very important. These 4 verses actually echo what those 700 people on the ship were doing. They were focused, they were thinking of the precepts and so on, and they kind of cross over to a happy rebirth, all right? And here they come to see the Buddha, and I'm sure they'll go back and perhaps do some meditation. So we end the sutta here. Sadhu.
Sadhu, Piya, for the teaching. Now we have a Q&A.
Right, we have a bit more time today, about 20 minutes.
There's no question at the moment in the chat box. Anybody
Okay.
who would like to ask the question verbally?
Well, you can also give a feedback, how you feel about certain parts. If you like, sometimes you feel happy, you can share your joy with us. If you look at the top line of the sutta, you find that the sutta is in the Satullapa kāyikā, the chapter on this name after these devas. So they have their own chapter. Yeah? So this Tawatingsa, the heaven of Sakra, is not just one group. There are many different groups of devas there. But they're still in the sense world. They are the second level highest. You're first the gods of the four great kings, and then Tawatingsa. These two are regarded as earthbound. In other words, they're kind of not too far away from our world. Not too far away, of course, in astronomical terms. I mean, in real terms, they are really far away. Some distant space quadrant, a different dimension even.
Hello, Brother Piya.
Yes, yes, get you.
Very simple question, just to get the conversation going. I'm just looking at the third point in the sutta, or the third stanza. I'm just curious about the Buddha and his posture. I mean, this whole idea of a lion posture, what is that?
Oh, okay.
And why is it that, I mean, it seems like we're always seeing him,
Yes.
this reference of him lying on his right side and not the left side.
Yeah, this is probably due to some ancient Indian yoga, they might have this idea that sleeping on the right side is more comfortable, at least for the Buddha anyway. You have to try that yourself, okay? And of course, it's not easy for us because we are not deep meditators to put our left foot on the right and then sleeping like that. You can try, right? If after a while, because the left foot is pushing down at certain points, and that can be quite painful after a while. So you find some depiction of the Buddha in art. They're aware of this, so they show the Buddha's leg actually bending a bit, and part of it is on the ground. So the ground supports the feet much more, and there's less pain, physical pain. But remember, the Buddha is not troubled by bodily pain. This is a yoga idea, basically, that sleeping on the right side is healthy and more comfortable, all right? But remember what the Buddha said about the teaching. He says if things have to do with social background, not directly with the Dhamma, in other words, they're to be interpreted, they're not actually directly pointing to the Dhamma, you don't have to bother about them. They're not really important. They happen to be cultural or social comments. Right. So whether you believe in it or not, you accept the Buddha actually stepped on the right side or not, will not deter your attainment of nirvana. Okay. Important thing is you keep the precepts and so on. So these are interesting aspects of ancient Indian culture, like that the Buddha was able to keep up to all these things which the people of the time thought healthy, good, and noble. So a kind of reflection. All right. Remember that the Buddhist approach is not to, you don't have to believe everything. And you don't have not to believe everything either. Just thinking, okay, it's a story, and that's fine, it's interesting. I don't know what really is going on here, and I just take it like that. So that is our attitude, okay? Because you can never know in due course when you study yoga or you do yoga, you find, oh, there are some interesting truths about this. And that's when we can see all these ancient teachings in a clearer, bigger perspective. There must be some reasons that these things are mentioned. At this point, many of these things are lost, and we are unable to describe the details why these things are present. But one thing we can still be sure of, the meditation that you can do and the peacefulness that you can feel. That's what's important to us. All right?
And what is the lion posture?
Well, if you notice lions, they naturally will lie on the right side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it is association with courage and nobility, the kind of idea.
Mm.
You notice the ancient Chinese, ancient Indians in their martial arts, they tend to follow animal postures, natural postures, right? So in Chinese Kung Fu, you have the stock posture and so on, right? And then in the Indians, they have the cobra posture. So they tend to watch animals, how animals behave, and then they kind of emulate this kind of exercises to, strengthen themselves by being natural, observing nature. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sister, for your question. Piya, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I have a question. Okay, Sutta SD 61.4 bracket D. That is before the start of the Devata Sakalika Sutta. You have the embedded Sutta. Okay. Vedana Samadhi Sutta.
Oh.
Okay. So there is this second last line there. It said the monk who has destroyed feelings is hunger free, fully quenched. Can you comment on what is that
Okay.
meant by has destroyed feelings? How do
Okay.
you destroy
Yeah.
feelings?
This sutta is found in the same passage, in the same paper you have. It's just before our tonight sutta. It's called Vedana Samadhi Sutta. Vedananang kaya bhikkhu. Okay, so kaya means destroyed. Vedananang, feelings. Yeah, well, we still, the destroyed here is in a mental sense. The Arahat has destroyed the effects of pain, of pleasure and pain and boredom, where feelings are concerned. That's the meaning of destroyed here. So, and this is clearly hinted by the word hunger-free, nichato, or nichaka. Hunger-free here meaning without desire, no more desire. The feelings do not draw him away or push him back or make him feel bored because he doesn't know what it is. He's no more troubled by feelings. Fully quenched, meaning the fires that are this feeling arising from greed, hatred, illusion, no more burn in him, no more trouble him, no more torment him, no more torture, does not torture him anymore, because all these three fires have been quenched, they've been put out. These are, what do you call it, illusions or references to Nirvana, to the Arahat in Nirvana. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else has any question? This is your chance to ask.
You have about 10 minutes more. You can ask related questions to Buddhism also. We are working on SD 62A, right? Coming out, supposed to come out this month, right? So we are getting the proof done and updating all those files.
Okay, excuse me, Piya, there's one question from Brother Chao Ing.
Yes.
His question is, the Bojjhanga Sutta is recited to ward off illness and promote healing. The Buddha, Mahakassapa and Mahamungkalana recovered serious illness after listening to the chanting of the Bojjhanga. But will the listening of this sutta work for unenlightened beings like us?
Okay, let's find out how does it really work. What does the sutta actually tell us, or the commentaries tell us about the suttas? The Buddha, Mahakassapa, Moggallana, these are arhats. They listen to the bojjhangas. The bojjhangas are just steps of, meditation towards awakening. So what is really the sutta trying to tell us is these arhats, they are focused on this teaching. So when the mind is drawn, when the attention is drawn into the mind, it is removed from the body. So that's one way you don't feel the pain, right? That is why when you go to the dentist or you go to the nurse who's going to prick a knife, prick a little needle into your finger and tell you, breathe in deep, this nurse will tell you to take a deep breath, is to bring your mind up from the body, bring your attention up from the body to the level of the mind. So that's one way it works, by attention being taken away from the body. So you have the teaching of the two pains again in the Bojjhanga Sutta. Of course, this is a good opportunity by later Buddhists who want to attract devotees to make use of the Brahmanical mantra effect, which the Buddha rejects. That by listening to the word, you can be cured just like that. This is what the Hindus claim, the Brahmins claim. This only works if the other person has faith and has wisdom, is focused and listens, and he feels at peace. And then, yes, the body will kind of generate, some kind of hormones or whatever, and that helps the person feel better, right? We know well, for example, right? Medical people will tell us people who are sick and they don't want to get well because they're not happy. They feel depressed, they're unhappy with certain things, so they don't want to get well. So the mind has some effect on the body. So that's the meaning. The mind has some effect on the body. So you have to focus, you have to reflect on the Dharma, and the recitation of the Bojjhanga is that to help us do the reflection. It doesn't work as magic. Magic means someone else does the work for you. It doesn't work that way. Although some of the Sinhalese monks may tell you that you listen and then you are cured, and then they do all this recitation and people think it's magical. It doesn't work that way, okay? I think also for that reason, some of these monks do not want to teach suttas because suttas tell too much of truth to you, or you'll be asking so many questions, it's not easy to answer, with so many cultural things, ethnic practices, which depends on the ignorance of the lay people, which is not good, which is troubling, okay? So it's good that you ask such questions and to find out how these things really work. Remember, it's in the mind. Your mind must connect with the teaching so that the mind is purified. It is not the magic of the word from out there changing you. It's not witchcraft. Then it is called superstition because it comes from outside. It's not your effort really to calm and clear your mind and heal yourself. Okay?
Okay. I hope you're happy with the answer.
Okay. I can
Any
relip him. Okay. Yes, we have 5 minutes more.
The next study will study the Alavaka Sutta. It's a very interesting one.
Oh, yeah, it's a very long one. I have to summarize for you.
Highlights.
Highlights.
Enable awakens
Yeah.
the teaching of the Buddha.
Yes, Alavaka, very interesting sutta.
Don't miss it.
Alawaka happened to be a cannibal, by the way. He's a yaksha. Now, even today, I think the Indians, they believe Saka, yaksha, nature spirit. 5 more minutes, yes. Anything you want to share in the Dhamma? What questions you want to ask?
Hi. Can I check?
Yeah, you have a video? Can you please turn on?
Video?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. What does HT mean?
Yeah. Oh, my name. That's my short form. Hong Tak.
Hong Tak. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. What's the question, Hong Tak?
Can I check what is the today Sutta session? What is the main learning point? Like the whole thing is a story, but what
Yeah.
is the end of
Okay.
the
Very
story?
good. Very good question.
Thank you.
You see, one key point is that of gratitude. See, this devas are so happy that they knew how they became devas. They know why they're happy. It's because they kept the precepts, they practiced the Buddha's teaching. So you have many stories of this kind of devas coming down, thanking the Buddha. So that's one simple way of looking at it. There's the idea of gratitude to the Dhamma. Okay. Now, many people come to me and say, thank you for teaching the Dhamma. I'm not so keen about that because I'm not the one who wrote the Dhamma. I always say, we together thank the Buddha. And that makes me very happy because we are living at a time when we can access this Dhamma. And for that, we are really grateful. So this sense of joy of gratefulness that we have access to wisdom, we have something we can learn for our own happiness. Okay, so I think that would be my understanding of a key idea behind this sutta. There are, of course, a good sutta has got many other facets, many other aspects. Okay? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Right.
I'm just surprised to hear about the different definition or meaning of the naga. It's the first time I see as elephant. Yeah, I mean normally people talk about spirit, people talk about serpent, they talk about
yeah.
Exactly.
That's why we got to, when you read the Pali Suttas, you find that a word can have many meanings. The Tipitaka is huge. There's a lot of Pali words, so they're used in different ways. And if we don't study the suttas, we only listen to what the monks tell us, and the monks' knowledge are also quite limited. They may have PhDs, but not in the Dhamma. So they may lack knowledge of even basic knowledge of the suttas, which you should study for yourself. When you find, wow, this one word has so many meanings, So the word naga has a number of meanings. It's called polysemic. It's got 3-4 meanings, all right? So, and it applies in different situations. It's like some kind of, what shall we say, a multi-purpose tool that can be used in many situations, okay? So the Dhamma can be very surprising, very joyful to study in that sense, okay? Right, so keep up your study of the Dhamma.
Yeah, actually because of that different definition, especially in the form of serpent, then I cannot imagine how it can be classified in the 5 realms, you see.
Into what, sorry?
5 realms.
In the 5 realms. 5 realms. If the serpent is neither an animal nor a spirit.
No, a serpent is a snake. It's a reptile. I mean, if we take it like that, yeah, it's a reptile.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Then there are, of course, stories of these various beings, serpent spirit, for example, yeah. But even then, they are in the one of those subhuman world. Okay, they're not happy spirits, actually suffering spirits. And of course, they could be just stories used, like in the Jataka stories, So remember, again, as Buddhists, you don't have to believe something. If you watch Star Wars, you suspend your belief. You just say, oh, very nice story, and something that's the film's telling us. that the bad may win at first, but in the end they will lose. So the suttas also have stories. The commentaries have many stories. What you should believe is when you suffer pain, you say, wow, this is not good. I want to overcome it. That is beyond belief. It is experience. Otherwise, whatever you hear tonight from me, it's still up to you whether you want to believe or not, because it is not your experience. Now it's your experience in the sense you're listening, yes, but you have to use it to test it for yourself. Then you know, then you'll be happy. My job is to show you the ways. Well, there are these suttas, okay, this is what I think it means. And then you look at it, you say, wow, yeah, that's interesting. I want to find out more. Or now I understand why it has a different meaning and so on. That's what knowing sutta is very interesting. It broadens your mind. It opens up your eyes to see deeper. Okay.
Thank you.
Other
There's no more question. Any more question?
Okay, it's
my
almost time.
We
Last
take
minute
a
question.
group photo. Is it
Okay,
okay?
family photo.
Turn on your videos. Okay, thank you very much.
There's a question by Brother Tom.
Brahmins learn the Vedas as 125. What kind of learning does this refer to as opposed to someone who is learned today?
The Brahmanical script, the Vedas especially, are very speculative. It is a very interesting time in Indian philosophy. The people are beginning to think and they begin to wonder. They're not very sure. They talk about great things. Could be the gods be like this? Could the gods be like that? And then they ask questions like, could they really exist? So it's very speculative. There are lots of these kind of ideas. They're meant to question things, but then people turn it into Holy Scripture. You know, what is a question, what is seeking, becomes what is found. So that really messed things up. Okay, so of course the Vedas are put into very beautiful poetry and language, and people hear all this nice sound. They are moved by it. It's like you listen to a beautiful pop song and you just love it. You don't know why. So they are able to capture people's hearts that way. I mean, if anybody, even an expert teacher, were to stand in the middle of a crowd, I mean, look at the Kumbh Mela, you know, millions of people come. I don't think they can listen to the Dharma. Then suddenly somebody panic and then they just run, people get killed. So it's a religion of the crowd. So there's no wisdom there in that sense. This is what the Buddha was against. So you can imagine he comes from the right kind of country where all these things can happen in really amazing ways. So he knew what he was talking about. And if the Indians today listen and really practice this, it would be a very noble culture, a very wonderful culture indeed. We rise from the crowd, we become noble, truly noble, truly Arya in the sense of because you think for yourself and you are kind and good to others who really need your help. Okay? All right, on that note, we will close. Let us reflect on today's wonderful moment. This is a time to be at peace with yourself, all these wonderful good thoughts, your renunciation. You have left so many things behind to listen to the Dhamma, but all these good deeds. Send your kind thoughts to yourself, be well and happy, and then to your loved ones, to others important to you. This is the time to wonderfully send your thoughts to them. And finally, we close showing our gratitude to the Buddha who has brought us together, diverse people from various places, various parts of the world. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.